Hi, I'm Susanna and this is my February reading wrap-up and March hopefuls. I finished 4 books in February, but only one of them was a novel in English, so let's talk about Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is a young adult fantasy. Scarlett Ragna's lifelong dream has been to see Caraval, a performance where the audience participates in the show and competes for a prize. A few weeks before her arranged marriage, she finally gets an invitation to Caraval for herself, her sister Tella, and her fiancé. With the help of a mysterious sailor Julian, Scarlett and Tella escape their cruel and abusive father and journey to a faraway island. But as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caraval's organizer, Legend. Now Scarlett must find Tella before the game ends, or she risks losing her forever. Caraval is the first book in Stephanie Garber's young adult fantasy trilogy of the same name. I had heard a lot of people rave about this series as well as the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, so I was intrigued to read both of the trilogies, starting with Caraval. Caraval was an action-packed read, but I'm not sure it lived up to my expectations. I found the world building slightly confusing. The fantasy world with its many islands and nations was vague, and I didn't get a clear sense of what the world was supposed to be like and whether magic played a larger role in the world. An even bigger problem was that what Caraval and the games were like wasn't explained until much later in the book, and even then it wasn't clear why people were so eager to join the game. I felt that I was told that the people loved the game rather than shown what made the game and the place so fascinating to the participants. That being said, the book is full of vivid descriptions. Part of that is because Scarlett has synesthesia and she sees her emotions in color. At times I felt the descriptions were a bit too much and I got overwhelmed reading about all those turquoises and emeralds and melting peacock feather colors. The book focuses so heavily on Scarlett that the other players in the game were pushed in the background. They are mentioned in the beginning, but they don't form much of an obstacle to Scarlett and we don't learn what they are doing most of the time. Instead, Scarlett stumbles upon the clues way too easily. In hindsight, that makes some sense, but because everything is so easy for her, the book felt very low stakes. It also didn't feel like she was very concerned about saving her sister because most of the time she spends pining after the love interest. The relationship between Julian and Scarlett developed rapidly. At the end of the book, she's only known him for a couple of days and claims that she's in love with him, even though she admits that she doesn't even know him and doesn't know whether he's telling her the truth. I also had a hard time getting over the fact that when we first meet Julian, he's with another woman, and Scarlett's sister no less. For the most of the book, Scarlett is passive, overly concerned with propriety, and constantly making bad decisions. Although the themes of confidence and rising up against her abusive father are important, the lessons Scarlett learns were presented in a heavy-handed manner. In the end, I didn't feel like Scarlett had really grown as a person. I hope the rest of the series includes bigger character development. Whatever you heard about Caraval, it doesn't compare to the reality. It's more than just a game or a performance. It's the closest you'll ever find to magic in this world. I have to say the book didn't quite live up to the promise of that quote. Still, I enjoyed the book enough to give it 4 stars and I'm curious to see how the series continues. I also read a historical fiction in Finnish. This is Hajusteentekijän tytär by Kaisa Okerman. As far as I'm aware, this book hasn't been translated into English, at least not yet, but I enjoyed it so much that I'm going to say a few words about it. The title of the book translates as The Daughter of a Perfume Maker. This is a fascinating historical fiction set in ancient Assyria, Hittite and Egypt. The author is an Assyriologist, so you can be certain that the rich historical details are accurate. However, it's also the author's first novel and unfortunately that shows. There are some awkward expressions and the plot definitely could have been tighter. Nevertheless, I enjoyed this enough to give it 4 stars. Hopefully this book will be translated into English because I would love to recommend this to fans of historical fiction. I also finished 2 non-fiction books about ancient Greek novels. Tim Whitmarsh's Narrative and Identity in the Ancient Greek Novel I've already taken back to the library. The other was Oxford Readings in the Greek Novel edited by Simon Swain. My goal is to read the 5 extant ancient Greek novels this spring, and alongside that project I'm also reading scholarly non-fiction books about ancient Greek novels. I also started 4 books in February that I will continue in March. The Cambridge Companion to Greek and Roman novel I've already finished. This is another scholarly non-fiction about ancient Greek novels. I'm also continuing with Caraval trilogy and reading Legendary. I also started The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This is a huge book and it will take me until May or June before I finish it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And I'm also continuing with Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex. I started part 2 in February. Besides those, I have 4 other books that I want to start in March. After Legendary, I'm reading Finale, the final book in the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. I'm also starting my Ancient Greek Novels project and reading novels from this collected Ancient Greek Novels edition. And I want to read another scholarly non-fiction about the Ancient Greek novels. This is Crafting Characters, Heroes and Heroines in the Ancient Greek Novel by Cohen de Demerman. And finally, I want to start a book about dog breeds. So those were the books I read in February and my goals for March. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book in February was, and I'll see you in my next video.